The Billionaire's Otherworld Garden, Let's Become a Billionaire Through Farming in Another World. Volume 3, The Race for the Third Guardian. The peaceful days of farming are finally interrupted. After the world compass reveals the location of the third guardian, Noah and his companions begin their first journey beyond the garden. However, they are not alone. The mysterious organization known as the Seekers has also discovered the guardian's location and is determined to seize its power before the garden's caretaker arrives. Leaving the safety of the garden for the first time, Noah, Mira, Bramble, Asterion, Cedric, Lady Elyria, and Seraphine travel to the forgotten southern ruins, where ancient civilizations once flourished. Along the way, Noah befriends new races, discovers lost magical plants, ancient farming techniques, and forgotten world tree shrines. Meanwhile, the Seekers reveal their true strength, proving they are far more dangerous than anyone imagined. As the race reaches its climax, Noah awakens the third guardian, gains another powerful ally, and learns that the Seekers are merely servants of a much greater enemy that once nearly destroyed the garden itself. Chapter 21 Journey to the Southern Ruins. The first rays of dawn illuminated the garden. Golden sunlight filtered through the enormous branches of the world tree, casting dancing patterns across the endless fields of vegetables, flowers, and fruit trees. The garden was peaceful, as if it had no idea what awaited beyond its borders. Noah stood beneath the world tree, holding the world compass. The emerald needle no longer spun aimlessly. It pointed steadily toward the south, toward the southern ruins, toward the sleeping third guardian. He smiled quietly. So, I guess today's the day. Mira floated beside him carrying an oversized backpack. It was almost twice her size. I packed everything. She proudly opened it. Inside were tiny bottles of nectar, flower seeds, medical herbs, snacks, and nearly 20 different kinds of tea. Noah laughed. Weren't we only leaving for a few days? You never know. Nearby, Bramble patiently waited beside the gate. The enormous silver wolf carried several saddlebags filled with supplies. Asterion inspected the map Cedric had collected over the years. Lady Elyria carefully packed enchanted medicines. Seraphine sharpened a crimson spear while quietly watching the surrounding forest. Everyone had prepared. Cedric rolled out an ancient parchment across a stone table. This is every map I've managed to collect. The old merchant pointed toward a faded region. The southern ruins were once one of the largest cities connected to the world tree. What happened? Cedric's cheerful expression disappeared. No one knows. It simply vanished. Lady Elyria quietly added, our oldest records say an entire civilization disappeared overnight. No survivors. No explanation. Only ruins remained. Mira hugged herself. That's scary. Asterion gently placed one finger upon the map. This area. The magical energy here is unusually dense. The third guardian is almost certainly beneath these mountains. The world compass immediately glowed. Its needle pointed toward the exact same location. Noah nodded. Then that's where we're going. Before leaving, Noah made one final trip through the garden. He carefully watered every field, harvested ripe vegetables, fed the cloud sheep, checked on the crystal deer. Even the spirit fox kits gathered around him. One little fox tugged gently on his sleeve. Noah smiled and scratched behind its ears. I'll be back soon. The tiny fox let out a soft cry, almost as if it understood. Standing beneath the world tree one last time, Noah looked upward. I'll leave the garden in your care. The world tree shimmered. Silver leaves gently drifted around him. The young world tree descendant brushed one glowing branch against his shoulder, almost like wishing him good luck. Finally, everyone gathered before the Emerald Gateway. Cedric adjusted his traveling cloak. I've spent centuries trading across kingdoms. But this, he smiled, this is my first adventure. Lady Elyria laughed softly. Try not to get lost. I've only gotten lost twice. You disappeared for 8 years. I found my way back. Mira giggled. I think we're going to have fun. Seraphine sighed. I have a feeling we'll have the opposite. Noah took one last look at the garden. The home that had changed his life. The place that had taken him from poverty to becoming one of the wealthiest men on earth. More importantly, it had given him friends, a family, a purpose. He smiled. Let's go. The Emerald Gateway opened. Instead of leading back to Earth, a hidden path appeared beyond it. An ancient stone road stretched into a vast forest filled with towering trees. Glowing blue flowers covered the ground. Massive vines hung from the branches overhead. Ruined stone pillars stood forgotten beneath thick moss. This, Mira whispered, is outside the garden. Asterion nodded. The pathways that once connected every world tree sanctuary. The group stepped forward. The moment Noah crossed the ancient stone road, the world compass released a pulse of emerald light. Dozens of ancient symbols carved into the pathways suddenly illuminated. The forest itself awakened. Birds unknown to Noah flew overhead. Tiny spirits peeked from behind giant mushrooms. Strange flowers opened as the caretaker passed. Nature itself welcomed him. Hours later, the group reached the top of a grassy cliff. Everyone stopped. Before them stretched an enormous valley. Ancient ruins covered the landscape. Broken temples, collapsed bridges, stone statues swallowed by forests, towering pillars reaching toward the clouds. At the very center, a gigantic tree stump stood alone, larger than entire castles. Bramble lowered his head respectfully. A world tree. Asterion nodded. One that died long ago. Silence filled the group. Suddenly, the world compass glowed brighter than ever before. Its needle shifted, pointing directly beyond the ruined valley, toward a towering mountain hidden by mist. A transparent message appeared. Destination updated. Third Guardian. Distance remaining. Close. Before Noah could speak, a faint sound drifted through the valley. Not wind. Not birds. Footsteps. Many footsteps. Seraphine immediately raised her spear. We're not alone. Far below, several cloaked figures silently emerged from the ruins. Each wore the silver mask of the Seekers. Chapter 22 The Forgotten Village. The cloaked figures moved silently through the ruins below. Silver masks caught brief flashes of sunlight as they disappeared between collapsed towers and vine-covered buildings. Noah remained at the edge of the cliff. The world compass glowed softly in his hand. Beside him, Seraphine tightened her grip around her crimson spear. We should stop them. Asterion raised one hand. No. Seraphine looked at him. They're seekers. And we're standing on unfamiliar ground, Asterion replied calmly. Charging into ancient ruins we know nothing about is exactly what they would want us to do. Bramble's golden eyes followed the distant figures. They know we're here. Noah frowned. Then why aren't they attacking? Cedric adjusted his traveling cloak. Because this is a race. Lady Elyria finished his thought. And right now, neither side knows exactly where the finish line is. The world compass pointed toward the enormous mountain beyond the ruined city. But there was no obvious path leading there. Noah looked down at the valley. We keep going. Seraphine nodded. But carefully. Mira immediately raised her tiny hand. I can do carefully. Everyone looked at her. Mira slowly lowered her hand. Sometimes. The dead city. The group descended from the cliff. Up close, the southern ruins were even larger than Noah had imagined. Ancient stone roads disappeared beneath roots and moss. Buildings taller than anything Noah expected from an ancient civilization stood broken beneath the forest canopy. Fountains had become ponds. Trees grew through abandoned houses. Massive statues watched over empty plazas. And everywhere, Noah saw carvings of the world tree. One mural caught his attention. It depicted farmers standing beneath a gigantic tree. People carried baskets overflowing with fruits and grain while spirits danced around them. Noah brushed moss away from the stone. They were farmers. Lady Elyria approached. Not only farmers. She studied the ancient writing beneath the mural. They were called the people of verdant stone. They supplied food to several kingdoms during the age of the First Garden. Cedric stared at the enormous ruined granaries nearby. Judging from those warehouses, they supplied quite a lot. Noah touched the stone wall. For a moment, he imagined the city alive. Markets crowded with merchants. Farmers bringing carts filled with harvests. Children running between stalls. Then, nothing. The civilization had disappeared. Only its empty city remained. What happened to them? Nobody answered. They continued deeper into the ruins. Strangely, Noah began noticing plants. Not ordinary weeds. Rows. Perfectly straight rows. They were barely visible beneath centuries of wild growth. Wait. Noah crouched. He pushed aside several vines. Underneath them were ancient irrigation channels. This used to be farmland. Mira landed beside him. Inside the city. Looks like it. Nature's insight activated. Most of the ancient crops were long dead. But something else appeared at the edge of Noah's perception. Cultivated soil detected. Condition. Severely depleted. Last magical cultivation, unknown. Noah's eyes widened. The soil remembers. Asterion looked toward him. Remembers. It's difficult to explain. Noah picked up a handful. This land was cultivated using magic. But whatever nourished it disappeared. Suddenly, Bramble stopped. His ears moved. People. Seraphine raised her weapon. Seekers. Bramble sniffed the wind. No. Many. Nearby. Someone still lives here. They followed a narrow road away from the central ruins. Soon, Noah smelled smoke. Then cooked food. Then he heard voices. They passed between two enormous collapsed statues. And stopped. Beyond them was a village. Not ruins. A living village. Small stone houses clustered around terraced farmland. Wooden fences surrounded animal pens. Smoke rose from chimneys. Children ran between houses. Dozens of people worked the fields. Noah stared. I thought nobody survived. Lady Elyria looked equally surprised. According to every historical record, they didn't. A bell suddenly rang. Dong, dong, dong. The villagers froze. Men and women immediately grabbed bows, spears, axes, and farming tools. Children hurried indoors. Within moments, dozens of armed villagers blocked the road. An elderly man stepped forward. He had weathered skin, long gray hair, and a wooden staff covered in leaf carvings. His eyes moved across Noah's unusual group. Human, fairy, wolf guardian, dragon guardian, elf, dragonkin, merchant. His expression hardened. Outsiders. Seraphine stepped forward. We don't seek conflict. Every outsider says that. The old man's gaze shifted toward Noah. Then toward the object in his hand. The world compass. His face changed. Where did you get that? Noah glanced down. It was given to me by the world tree. Silence. Absolute silence. The old man's staff slipped slightly in his hand. What did you say? The world compass suddenly glowed. Emerald light spread across the village. At the same moment, something answered. Far behind the houses, a faint green light appeared. The villagers gasped. The old man turned around. No. He began walking quickly. Then running. Follow me. The forgotten shrine. At the far end of the village stood a small stone temple. It was ancient. Far older than the houses surrounding it. Roots covered most of its walls. At its center stood a stone pedestal containing a dead sapling. Noah stopped. Even though the plant looked dead, nature's insight immediately reacted. World Tree Shrine. Status. Dormant. Life connection. Severed. Restoration possible. Noah's heart jumped. You've been protecting this. The village elder nodded. For generations. Our ancestors told us never to abandon it. Even when the old city fell. Even when kingdoms forgot we existed. He looked toward the dead sapling. We remained. Mira slowly approached the shrine. Her cheerful expression disappeared. This was one of the little world tree shrines. Asterion placed his hand against the stone. The roots once connected directly to the garden. That's why the village survived. The elder looked at him sharply. You know this place. Asterion smiled sadly. I knew it before your grandfather's grandfather was born. The villagers stared. The elder slowly lowered himself onto one knee. Then the old stories. They were true. Noah immediately helped him up. Please don't kneel. The elder looked confused. But if you truly are. I'm Noah. Just Noah. Mira whispered to one of the villagers. He does this every time. The dying fields. Once the tension eased, the villagers welcomed them cautiously. The elder introduced himself as Elder Rowan. His people called their home Verdant Hollow. Their ancestors had lived here for countless generations, protecting the shrine and surviving on what remained of the ancient farmland. But recently, something had changed. Rowan brought Noah toward the terraces. The crops were thin. Leaves had yellowed. Several fields were completely barren. Our harvest becomes smaller every year, Rowan explained. The springs are weakening. The soil no longer responds. This winter, he looked toward the village. We may not have enough. Noah crouched beside a struggling plant. Nature's insight activated immediately. Mountain barley. Condition, critical. Soil mana, nearly exhausted. Mineral balance, poor. Water supply, insufficient. Noah looked across the terraces. The problem wasn't the farmers. Their fields had simply been dying for generations. Can you fix it? Rowan asked quietly. Noah didn't answer immediately. He walked through every terrace. Checked the irrigation channels. Examined the spring. Tested the soil. Then he opened one of the bags Bramble had carried from the garden. Inside were seeds. Not legendary magical crops. Ordinary vegetables and grains Noah had deliberately brought for the journey. But they had been raised and harvested inside the garden. They carried its blessing. Noah smiled. We can try. A farmer before a hero. For the rest of the afternoon, the journey to the third guardian was temporarily forgotten. Noah worked. He removed stones from irrigation channels. Seraphine used her strength to move collapsed sections of the aqueduct. Asterion restored the flow of water from the weakened spring. Bramble carried enormous logs. Lady Elyria taught the villagers how to prepare magical compost. Cedric somehow turned repairing a barn into a business negotiation. Mira organized the children, which mostly meant everyone ended up covered in mud. No running, Mira shouted, then immediately slipped. Splash! The children burst into laughter. Noah laughed too. They planted the garden-blessed seeds across one small test field. Tomatoes, beans, corn, potatoes, barley. Noah carefully covered the final seed. Now we wait. Rowan looked doubtful. Our soil hasn't produced healthy crops in years. Noah smiled. Plants can be surprisingly stubborn. They didn't have to wait long. The shrine suddenly glowed. A faint emerald pulse traveled beneath the earth. Noah felt it through his feet. Then, a tiny green shoot emerged. Another followed. Then dozens. Then hundreds. The villagers gasped. Across the field, fresh green sprouts pushed through the exhausted soil. Nature's insight filled Noah's vision. Garden blessed earth crops. Adaptation successful. Roots stabilizing soil. Local mana recovery beginning. Rowan's hands trembled. Growing. Tears appeared in the old man's eyes. They're actually growing. Children rushed into the field. Adults laughed. Several villagers cried openly. For them, it wasn't simply a crop. It was proof their home wasn't dying. Noah watched quietly. He had started farming because he needed money. Then he had continued because he enjoyed it. But now, for the first time, something he planted had given an entire village hope. That evening, Verdant Hollow held a feast. The food was simple. Bread, soup, roasted vegetables, fruit. No legendary dishes. No enchanted ingredients. No golden plates. No wealthy merchants. And Noah loved every bite. Rowan sat beside him. You came searching for something. Noah nodded. The third guardian. The elder's expression changed. I thought so. He slowly stood. Then tomorrow, I will show you something our family has protected for nearly 1,000 years. Beneath the shrine, late that night, after everyone had gone to sleep, Rowan entered the World Tree Shrine alone. He moved the stone pedestal. Beneath it was a hidden staircase. The old man descended into darkness. At the bottom stood an ancient stone door. He placed his hand against it. The emerald light awakened. Beyond the door, thousands upon thousands of tiny lights appeared. Seeds, stored in crystal containers, preserved for centuries. Rowan stared at them. The caretaker has finally returned. One crystal container suddenly cracked. Inside, a tiny golden seed began glowing for the first time in 1,000 years. Chapter 23 Ancient Seeds. Noah woke before sunrise. For a few seconds, he forgot where he was. There was no familiar ceiling of the old caretaker's cottage above him. No world tree glowing beyond his window. Instead, he heard the quiet sounds of Verdant Hollow beginning another day. A rooster called somewhere outside. Wooden buckets knocked against a well. Someone was already chopping firewood. Then Noah smelled fresh bread. Right. He sat up. The village. Yesterday, they had discovered Verdant Hollow hidden among the southern ruins. They had restored part of its dying farmland using seeds carried from the garden. And Elder Rowan had promised to show Noah something his family had protected for nearly 1,000 years. Noah had a feeling it wasn't going to be a normal seed shed. A green morning. When Noah stepped outside, he immediately stopped. People were gathered around yesterday's test field. The crops had grown, not unnaturally fast. They hadn't become giant magical vegetables overnight. But the difference was obvious. The young plants stood healthy and green. The leaves that had been yellow yesterday had begun regaining their color. More importantly, the soil itself looked different. Noah crouched and touched it. Nature's insight responded. Verdant Hollow, Eastern. Terrace. Soil condition, recovering. Mana density, 7% right pointing arrow 12%. Root activity, stable. Garden-blessed crops are gradually restoring depleted soil. Noah smiled. It's working. A little boy standing nearby stared at him. Will it keep working? Noah looked toward him. If you take care of the soil. He picked up a handful of earth. Don't just take from it. Put things back. Compost. Rotate your crops. Let some fields rest. The boy nodded very seriously. Then asked, "Can I grow the glowing tomatoes?" Noah laughed. "Maybe someday." Mira suddenly flew over the field. Noah. She was carrying something enormous. At least enormous for her. A potato. I harvested one. Noah stared. Why? Breakfast. That's one potato. It's a very good potato. Behind her, several village children carried an entire basket. Noah sighed. You made them do the work, didn't you? Mira immediately pointed toward the children. They volunteered. The children nodded enthusiastically. We're Mira's farming army. Noah looked at Mira. She gave him 2 thumbs up. I have assistants now. The elders promise. After breakfast, Elder Rowan arrived. He carried the same wooden staff as yesterday. But this morning, a heavy iron key hung around his neck. Noah. The old man looked toward Bramble, Asterion, Mira, Cedric, Lady Elyria, and Seraphine. What I am about to show you has been protected by my family for 43 generations. Cedric nearly choked on his tea. 43. Rowan nodded. We were instructed never to open the vault unless. He looked directly at Noah. The caretaker returned. The table became quiet. Noah stood. Then let's see it. They entered the ancient world tree shrine. The dead sapling remained upon its pedestal. But after yesterday's restoration of the farmland, a faint green glow now surrounded its roots. Mira noticed immediately. It's recovering. Asterion crouched beside it, only slightly. But the connection isn't completely gone. Noah touched the dry bark. Nature's insight appeared. World Tree Shrine Sapling. Status. Dormant. Vitality. 2%. Root connection. Weak. Restoration progress. 1%. Noah smiled. 1% is better than 0. Elder Rowan approached the pedestal. He inserted the iron key into a nearly invisible opening. Click. Ancient mechanisms moved beneath the floor. The entire pedestal slid aside. A staircase appeared. Mira stared into the darkness. That's definitely secret. Cedric grinned. The best things usually are. Lady Elyria glanced at him. That explains your accounting. My accounting is perfectly legal. I didn't say illegal. Let's continue. The seed vault. They descended. The staircase seemed endless. The air became colder with every step. Eventually, they reached an enormous stone door. Its surface was covered in carvings. Farmers, forests, rivers, and at the center, the world tree. Rowan placed his hand against it. Nothing happened. Then he looked toward Noah. The door no longer responds to us. It hasn't opened since my grandfather's grandfather was young. Last night, I could only reach this point. Noah looked at the door. Then at the world compass. It was glowing. He placed his palm against the stone. Immediately, whoom, emerald light exploded through the ancient carvings. Dust fell from the ceiling. The world tree symbol illuminated. A voice echoed through the underground chamber. Caretaker authority recognized. Mira's mouth fell open. Cedric whispered, "Well, that settles that." The stone doors slowly opened. Light poured from inside. Noah stepped forward, then stopped. The chamber was enormous. Thousands of crystal containers covered towering shelves. Inside each container, rested seeds. Red seeds, blue seeds, silver seeds, seeds that glowed, seeds surrounded by tiny flames, seeds suspended inside water. Some were smaller than grains of sand. Others were as large as Noah's fist. The entire vault sparkled like a room filled with stars. Lady Elyria covered her mouth. By the first tree, Cedric simply stared. Seraphine whispered, "How much is this worth?" Asterion answered quietly, "More than kingdoms." Rowan entered last. Our ancestors called this place the Ark of Seeds, the Lost Harvests. Noah approached the nearest shelf. The moment he entered the vault, nature's insight changed. Information flooded his vision. Ancient seed detected. Species, stargrain wheat. Status, dormant. Extinction status, extinct outside preservation. Ancient seed detected. Species, moonwell rice. Status, dormant. Extinction status, extinct. Ancient seed detected. Species, ember pepper. Status, dormant. Extinction status, extremely rare. More appeared. Cloudberry vine, silver pumpkin, sunroot carrot, crystal bean, spirit barley, dawnmelon. Noah slowly turned. There were thousands. These plants, they're extinct. Rowan nodded. Most disappeared after the southern city fell. Lady Elyria carefully examined one crystal container. Inside were 7 tiny blue seeds. I've seen drawings of these. Her voice trembled. Moonwell rice. My grandmother told me stories about it. Cedric looked toward her. Your grandmother. She said it grew in fields that reflected the moon even during daylight. Asterion smiled faintly. It did. Everyone looked at him. The ancient dragon walked between the shelves. I remember these. He stopped before another container. Stargrain. Farmers used to make bread from it during winter. Another. Sunroot. Sweet. Another. Cloudberry. Asterion smiled. Terrible when unripe. Mira pointed. You ate them. Once. How terrible. I slept for 11 days. Mira slowly moved away from the container. Noah laughed softly. But then he noticed Asterion's expression. The Guardian was smiling, yet there was sadness behind it. For Asterion, these weren't legendary plants. They were memories. Pieces of a world he had lost. Noah looked around the vault again. Then his expression became determined. Let's grow them. Everyone turned toward him. Not treasures. Cedric blinked. All of them. Eventually. Lady Elyria looked stunned. Noah, some of these seeds may be the last surviving examples of their species. Exactly. He carefully lifted one crystal container. Seeds aren't supposed to sit inside boxes forever. They're supposed to grow. Rowan stared at him. For several seconds. The old man said nothing. Then he smiled. My ancestor wrote something similar. He pointed toward ancient writing carved above the vault. Lady Elyria translated it aloud. A seed preserved as a memory. A seed planted as a future. Silence filled the chamber. Noah smiled. I like your ancestors. But he wouldn't recklessly plant everything. Some containers held only 1 or 2 seeds. Others had weakened over the centuries. Nature's insight allowed Noah to separate them. Healthy seeds. Damaged seeds. Seeds requiring special environments. Seeds that could only germinate under moonlight. Seeds needing volcanic soil. Some needed water rich in mana. Others required years of dormancy before planting. Noah spent hours cataloging them. Cedric eventually sat on the floor. How are you still going? Noah didn't look up. They're plants. Cedric stared at Lady Elyria. That's his explanation. She smiled. Apparently. A gift from the past. Near the rear of the vault. Noah found something different. A small wooden box. Unlike the crystal containers, it contained no preservation magic. Strangely, nature's insight couldn't identify what was inside. Unknown ancient seed. Analysis failed. Noah frowned. That's new. Asterion approached. His expression changed when he saw the box. I don't recognize it. Even Rowan shook his head. Our records never mention that container. Noah opened it carefully. Inside rested one golden seed. It was tiny, ordinary looking. Then the world compass reacted. Beast. Emerald light filled the chamber. The golden seed rose from the box. Ancient symbols appeared around it. Mira gasped. What is that? Asterion stepped backward. I don't know. The seed floated toward Noah. The moment it touched his palm, a message appeared. Unknown heritage seed. Origin. Age of the first garden. Species. Unidentified. Condition. Living. Germination requirement. World tree soil. Noah stared. World tree soil. Mira's eyes widened. The garden. Suddenly, a deep vibration passed through the vault. Dust fell from the ceiling. Bramble immediately stood. His fur bristled. Movement. Seraphine drew her spear. Above us. Bramble shook his head. Farther away. Under the mountain. The world compass began glowing violently. Its needle pointed through the stone wall. Toward the distant mountain. A new message appeared. Third Guardian resonance detected. Distance. Decreasing. Asterion's expression hardened. The Guardian isn't moving. Noah looked at him. Then why is the distance decreasing? Asterion's sapphire eyes narrowed. Because someone else is getting closer to it. The other side of the race. Deep beneath the southern ruins. Silver-masked seekers walked through an ancient tunnel. They had avoided Verdant Hollow entirely. Their leader carried a black crystal map. On its surface, a glowing symbol pulsed. One of the seekers stopped. The Guardian's sanctuary is ahead. Another looked toward the ceiling as emerald energy briefly shook the tunnel. The caretaker activated something. The leader smiled behind his mask. Let him. He can collect seeds. He can repair villages. He can play farmer. The seeker placed one hand against an enormous stone gate. Black magic spread across its surface. We came for something far more valuable. The gate began to crack. Behind it, something ancient stirred. Back inside the seed vault, Noah carefully closed his hand around the mysterious golden seed. He looked toward Elder Rowan. Can I take some of these seeds to the garden? Rowan smiled. They were never ours. We were only keeping them safe. Until you returned. Noah bowed his head. I'll bring them back. No. Rowan shook his head. Bring back their harvest. Noah smiled. Deal. That evening, several carefully selected containers were packed for transport. Stargrain wheat, moonwell rice, sunroot carrot, crystal bean, cloudberry vine, and the mysterious unknown heritage seed. Not enough to endanger the collection. Only enough to begin restoring what had been lost. Noah looked at the ancient vault one last time. Thousands of sleeping plants waited inside. Someday, he would make them grow again. But first, the world compass was flashing. The seekers were moving, and somewhere beneath the southern mountain, the third guardian was beginning to awaken. Chapter 24. The seekers arrived. The first warning came before sunrise. Boom. The ground beneath Verdant Hollow trembled. Wooden shutters rattled. Cups fell from shelves. Animals cried inside their pens. Noah's eyes snapped open. A second tremor followed. Boom. This one was stronger. He immediately grabbed the world compass from beside his bed. Its emerald light was flashing violently. Third guardian resonance detected. External disturbance increasing. Noah's expression hardened. The seekers. Something beneath the mountain. By the time Noah stepped outside, everyone was already awake. Seraphine stood in the village square with her crimson spear in hand. Lady Elyria was helping villagers gather the children. Cedric had somehow managed to put on his traveling coat backward. Mira flew out of one of the houses carrying 3 pieces of bread. Noah. She stuffed one into her mouth. The mountain is shaking. You stopped for breakfast. I can be worried and hungry. Despite himself, Noah laughed. Only for a moment. Then Bramble emerged from between the houses. The enormous silver wolf's expression was serious. They're underground. Asterion walked behind him. They've entered the old tunnels beneath the southern ruins. Seraphine tightened her grip on her spear. Then we go after them. But Noah looked toward the villagers. Several houses had been damaged by the tremors. An irrigation wall had collapsed. People were frightened. He shook his head. Not yet. Seraphine stared at him. They could reach the Guardian. I know. Noah looked toward Elder Rowan. But if we rush after them and another earthquake hits, these people could get hurt. There was frustration in Seraphine's eyes. Then she slowly lowered her spear. You're right. Repair before pursuit. For the next 2 hours, Noah's group helped stabilize Verdant Hollow. Bramble carried fallen beams away from damaged houses. Asterion redirected water through the broken irrigation channels. Seraphine and several villagers rebuilt the collapsed retaining wall. Lady Elyria prepared medicines for those injured during the tremors. Cedric distributed supplies. Mira commanded her farming army. Buckets over there, seeds over here, and nobody eats the emergency strawberries. A little girl raised her hand. You ate 3. Mira froze. Those were quality control strawberries. Noah checked the recovering fields. Fortunately, most of the newly planted crops had survived. Nature's insight showed several damaged areas. Eastern terrace. Structural damage. Moderate. Water channel. Blocked. Crop survival probability. 89%. Noah sighed in relief. They'll be okay. Elder Rowan stood beside him. You should go. Noah looked toward him. The village has survived here for 1,000 years. Rowan smiled. We can survive one morning without you. He looked toward the mountain. You came here for the Guardian. And whatever is causing those tremors isn't going to wait. Noah hesitated, then nodded. Keep everyone near the shrine. Rowan smiled. Go. The southern ruins. The group left Verdant Hollow shortly afterward. This time, there was no leisurely exploration. The world compass guided them directly through the ancient city. They crossed broken bridges, past abandoned marketplaces, moved through enormous plazas swallowed by forests. Yet something felt wrong. The ruins were too quiet. Asterion noticed it first. No animals. Bramble nodded. They fled. Mira landed on Noah's shoulder. Because of the Seekers. Maybe. Suddenly, the world compass flickered. The needle spun. Noah stopped. That's strange. Cedric looked over his shoulder. What? It doesn't know where to go. Asterion frowned. That's impossible. Then, click. Seraphine froze. Don't move. Everyone stopped. A tiny stone beneath Cedric's boot had sunk into the ground. Cedric slowly looked downward. I may have stepped on something. Lady Elyria closed her eyes. Of course you did. Ancient runes suddenly illuminated across the plaza. Whoom. Stone walls erupted from the ground. The path behind them disappeared. Dozens of enormous statues turned their heads. Their eyes glowed red. Mira pointed. Those weren't moving before. Cedric sighed. I noticed. The first trap. The nearest statue lifted a massive stone sword. Seraphine immediately stepped forward. Clang. Her crimson spear blocked the strike. The ground cracked beneath her feet. Move. Everyone scattered. More statues. Awakened. Asterion raised one hand. Water exploded from the ruined fountains. It twisted into enormous chains and wrapped around two stone guardians. Bramble lunged forward. His glowing claws struck another statue across the chest. Boom. Stone fragments flew everywhere. Noah remained behind them. He wasn't a fighter. And he knew it. Instead, he studied the plaza. Nature's insight didn't normally work on ruins. But vines covered almost every ancient structure. Plants, roots, moss, life. Noah closed his eyes. He followed their condition. One section of vines was different. Healthy everywhere, except around one stone pillar. There, he pointed. The pillar. Seraphine understood immediately. She threw her spear. Crack. The pillar shattered. The red light vanished. Every statue stopped. One enormous stone sword froze only centimeters above Cedric's head. Cedric stared upward. I was never worried. Lady Elyria looked at his trembling hands. Obviously. Asterion examined the broken pillar. His expression darkened. This trap wasn't active naturally. He pulled something from the rubble. A black crystal. Noah recognized it immediately. The Seekers. Asterion nodded. They activated the city's defenses behind them. Seraphine's eyes narrowed. They're slowing us down. Not an attack. They continued. But the pattern repeated. A bridge collapsed seconds before they crossed it. Ancient thorn vines awakened and blocked another road. A flock of corrupted stone birds attacked from a tower. A sleeping ruin beast was deliberately awakened in their path. Each time, the Seekers were nowhere to be seen. Seraphine became increasingly frustrated. They're cowards. Asterion shook his head. No, they're being efficient. They don't need to defeat us. They only need to arrive first. Noah looked at the world compass. The Seekers had turned the entire ancient city into an obstacle course. And every delay mattered. Eventually, they reached an enormous canyon separating them from the mountain. The ancient bridge had been destroyed. Cedric stared into the seemingly bottomless chasm. Well, that's inconvenient. Mira looked at Asterion. You can turn into a dragon. Yes. So, Asterion smiled. I was wondering how long it would take someone to mention that. Azure light surrounded him. His human body disappeared. A colossal serpentine dragon emerged above the ruins. Water spiraled around his brilliant blue scales. Mira immediately cheered. Dragon ride. Seraphine sighed. You are far too excited about this. You're literally from a dragon kingdom. Exactly. I've had enough dragon rides. Everyone climbed onto Asterion's back. With one powerful movement, the Azure Guardian rose into the air. The ruined city spread beneath them. And from above, Noah finally saw it. The southern ruins were enormous. But more importantly, the streets formed a pattern. A tree. The entire ancient city had been constructed in the shape of the world tree. At its southernmost root, a massive temple stood against the mountain. The world compass immediately stabilized. Its needle pointed straight toward it. There, Asterion descended. The moment they landed, Noah noticed footprints. Fresh ones. Dozens. The Seekers had already passed through. The mountain temple. The temple entrance was enormous. Two stone tortoises stood on either side of the gate. Each carried a mountain upon its shell. Bramble studied them. Third guardian. Asterion nodded. Pterodon. It was the first time Noah had heard the name. Pterodon. The mountain suddenly trembled. Deep below, a slow heartbeat echoed. Thoom. Everyone froze. THOOM. The world compass blazed. Third guardian proximity, extremely close. They entered the temple. Inside, they found evidence of the Seekers. Everywhere. Broken seals. Destroyed doors. Black crystals embedded in walls. Ancient defensive constructs disabled rather than destroyed. Lady Elyria touched one damaged rune. They know exactly what they're doing. Cedric's expression became unusually serious. They've studied this place. At the end of the corridor, they discovered an enormous chamber. And finally, the Seekers. Dozens of silver-masked figures stood before a gigantic stone door. Their leader turned. For the first time since entering the ruins, the two groups faced one another directly. Seraphine raised her spear. Bramble growled. Water spiraled around Asterion. Mira hid behind No's shoulder. The Seeker leader simply smiled beneath his mask. So, the new caretaker finally arrives. Noah stepped forward. Move away from the Guardian. The Seeker tilted his head. You misunderstand. We aren't here to fight you. Seraphine scoffed. You've been throwing ancient monsters at us all day. Delays. Nothing more. The Seeker leader placed his hand against the enormous stone door. We cannot open this. Noah frowned. Then why are you here? Because. The Seeker looked directly at him. You can. Silence. Asterion's eyes narrowed. They've been waiting for us. Suddenly, every Seeker stepped backward, not attacking, not threatening, simply clearing a path toward the door. The leader bowed mockingly. After you, caretaker. The door of Earth. Noah stared at the ancient gate. The world compass floated from his hand. It approached the door. Emerald runes illuminated. Then words appeared across the stone. The Guardian of Earth does not answer to strength. The Guardian of Earth does not answer to wealth. Only one WHO understands what it means to cultivate life may enter. The Seekers became silent. Noah slowly understood. They hadn't been able to reach Pterodon. Because the sanctuary wasn't asking for power. It was waiting for a caretaker. The floor trembled. Ancient stone roots rose from beneath Noah's feet. The world compass disappeared into the door. A new message appeared. Guardian sanctuary recognized. Caretaker candidate confirmed. Trial required. Trial of the Earth. Mira grabbed Noah's sleeve. Noah. The enormous doors slowly began opening. Beyond them was not another room. It was an endless golden field beneath a strange green sky. Asterion stared. An ancient trial realm. Bramble stepped forward, but an invisible wall stopped him. Boom. He growled. Noah tried touching the barrier. The message changed. Only the caretaker candidate may enter. Seraphine looked toward the Seekers. They'll attack the moment he's inside. The Seeker leader laughed softly. No. Today, we watch. Asterion's expression became colder. Why? The Seeker's silver mask reflected the emerald light. Because if he fails, the Guardian remains sealed. And if he succeeds, the man looked through the opening. He does the difficult part for us. Noah looked at his friends. Then toward the endless field beyond the gate. He understood. Whatever waited inside, he had to face it alone. He stepped forward. Mira grabbed his sleeve again. Be careful. Noah smiled. I will. Then he crossed the threshold. The ancient doors slammed shut behind him. Boom. Darkness surrounded Noah. A moment later, sunlight appeared. He stood alone in an endless barren field. The soil beneath his feet was cracked. Dry. Dead. There was no world compass. No nature's insight. No garden blessing. No guardians. No magical tools. Nothing. Only Noah. And a small cloth bag lying upon the earth. He opened it. Inside were 10 ordinary seeds. Words appeared across the sky. Trial of the Earth. You have been given 10 seeds. Make this dead land live again. Noah stared across the endless wasteland, then down at the seeds in his palm. Slowly, he smiled. So that's the trial. He knelt and touched the soil. Chapter 25 Trial of the Earth. The soil crumbled between Noah's fingers. Dry, powdery, dead. He remained kneeling in the middle of the endless wasteland, staring at the 10 seeds resting in his palm. Above him, the strange green sky stretched from horizon to horizon. There were no clouds, no birds, no insects, no trees, no sound except the dry wind. Behind him, the doorway had disappeared. No Mira, no Bramble, no Asterion, no nature's insight, no garden. For the first time since inheriting the old house, Noah was completely alone. Words remained suspended across the sky. Trial of the earth. You have been given 10 seeds. Make this dead land live again. Noah stared at them, then sighed. You could have at least given me a watering can. Nothing answered. Worth asking. 10 seeds. Noah examined what he'd been given. 10 small brown seeds. No magical glow. No labels. No information. He tried calling nature's insight. Nothing. Right. He had become so accustomed to knowing exactly what every plant needed that losing the ability felt strangely uncomfortable. But, Noah smiled. I grew plants before I had that. Long before the world tree's blessing. He had been planting vegetables with his own hands. So he began with the simplest thing. The soil. Noah walked. And walked. And walked. Everywhere was the same. Cracked earth. No water. No shade. No vegetation. Eventually, he found a shallow depression between several rocky hills. He crouched. The ground there was slightly darker. Water used to collect here. He dug with his hands. The first layer was dry. So was the second. And the third. His fingernails filled with dirt. His palms became scratched. Still, he kept digging. Eventually, cool soil. Noah stopped. There you are. Deep underground, moisture remained. Not much, but enough. The first choice. Noah dug 10 small holes. Then stopped. He looked at the seeds. If he planted all 10, there might not be enough moisture. If the trial expected him to make the entire wasteland green, 10 seeds weren't enough anyway. Something didn't make sense. He looked at the words in the sky again. Make this dead land live again. It didn't say, grow 10 plants. Noah slowly closed his hand. You're testing something else. He planted only 3 seeds. The remaining 7 went safely into his pocket. Then he gathered stones. He arranged them around the planted area to reduce wind. He dug shallow channels to collect whatever moisture might appear. He used his jacket to create shade during the hottest part of the strange day. Then, he waited. Hours passed. Nothing happened. No magical notification. No instant growth. No miracle. Noah sat beside the little patch of soil. This might take a while. Outside the trial, beyond the sealed doors, tension filled the ancient sanctuary. Bramble stood directly before the gate. He hadn't moved since Noah disappeared. Mira sat between his ears, staring at the stone. How long has it been? 23 minutes, Cedric answered. Mira blinked. It feels like 3 days. Lady Elyria looked toward the seekers. They remained on the opposite side of the chamber. Waiting. Seraphine didn't lower her spear. You expect us to believe you're just going to stand there. The seeker leader shrugged. We cannot enter. And attacking you accomplishes nothing. Asterion's sapphire eyes narrowed. Yet, the seeker smiled beneath his silver mask. You're wiser than the story suggested, Guardian. Suddenly, the mountain shook. Thoom. Dust fell from the ceiling. The enormous tortoise carvings along the walls briefly glowed. Bramble's eyes sharpened. Pterodon. Asterion placed one hand against the floor. He's aware of Noah. The seeker leader quietly watched. Then the trial has truly begun. Mira glared at him. If you try anything when Noah comes back. The seeker looked toward the tiny fairy. You'll defeat me. Mira pointed toward Bramble. No, he will. Bramble showed his enormous teeth. The seeker became silent. Fair enough. The first sprout. Inside the trial, Noah woke with his back against a rock. He hadn't meant to fall asleep. He immediately looked toward the planted seeds. Nothing. His shoulders dropped. Then, he noticed something. A tiny crack. Noah crawled closer. One green shoot had broken through the earth. He smiled. Hello. It was tiny. Fragile. Barely alive. But in a world containing nothing. That little green sprout looked more beautiful than any legendary fruit he'd ever grown. The other 2 seeds eventually sprouted as well. But the trial didn't end. Noah wasn't surprised. 3 plants weren't enough. He needed to make the land itself capable of supporting life. No water, no magic. The next challenge was water. The underground moisture wouldn't last forever. Noah studied the hills, the rocks, the temperature, the strange sky. At night, the air became cold. Very cold. And when morning arrived, tiny droplets appeared on the stones. Dew. Noah stared, then grinned. There you are. He gathered flat stones. Hundreds of them. He arranged them so condensation would run toward the plants. It wasn't much. A few drops. Then a few more. But each morning, The soil became slightly wetter. The 3 plants grew. Their roots stabilized the loose soil. Tiny dead leaves fell around them. Organic matter. Noah gathered everything he could find. Old roots buried beneath the soil. Dry plant matter hidden under rocks. Anything that could become compost. Slowly, a tiny patch of brown earth formed amid the gray wasteland. Days passed, or perhaps weeks. Noah couldn't tell. The strange sun rose and fell. His clothes became dirty. His hands became rough. His face became sunburned. Yet every morning, he checked the plants first. Eventually, the first plant flowered. A simple white flower. Noah laughed. I don't even know what you are. Without nature's insight, he couldn't identify it. And strangely, he liked that. He had to observe, learn, pay attention. Like an ordinary farmer. The temptation. One night, a voice spoke. Caretaker. Noah opened his eyes. A figure stood before him. It was made entirely of golden light. In its hands rested a crystal bottle. Water shimmered inside. You have struggled. Noah slowly stood. Who are you? The trial. The figure offered the bottle. Take it. Noah stared. Water. Water from the world tree. One drop will transform this wasteland into paradise. Noah didn't move. The golden figure continued. You need only accept. Noah looked toward his 3 plants. Then toward the 7 seeds still in his pocket. 1 drop. He could finish immediately. No more struggling. No more collecting dew. No more digging with bleeding hands. No more waiting. He reached toward the bottle. Then stopped. What's the cost? Silence. Noah smiled slightly. There's always a cost. The figure finally answered. The 3 plants you have already grown. Noah's expression changed. Their life will become the foundation for the new land. He looked toward the little plants. 3 tiny lives. Against an entire paradise. Mathematically, it was an easy choice. 3 plants for endless fields. The figure extended the bottle. Sacrifice what you have grown. Gain everything. Noah shook his head. No. The figure paused. Why? They trusted me to keep them alive. They are plants. So, Noah crouched beside the smallest one. I planted them. I watered them. I protected them. They're alive because I chose to grow them. He gently touched one leaf. I'm not killing them because I'm impatient. The golden figure disappeared. The bottle vanished. The wasteland remained. Noah sighed. Guess I'm still collecting dew. Far beneath the trial realm. Something ancient opened one enormous golden eye. Good. 7 more. Eventually, the first 3 plants produced seeds. Not many, but enough. Noah collected them carefully. Only then did he plant the remaining 7 original seeds. Not because he was afraid to lose them anymore, but because the soil could finally support them. 10 plants became 20, 20 became 50, 50 became hundreds. Their roots broke apart the hard ground. Their leaves created shade. Dead vegetation enriched the soil. Tiny pools began forming where Noah had redirected condensation. Then, something extraordinary happened. An insect appeared. Noah stared at it. A tiny beetle crawled across one leaf. He laughed. Where did you come from? The beetle didn't answer, obviously. But Noah watched it disappear beneath the plants. Life had begun returning. Soon came worms. Then tiny flying insects. Then grass. Noah hadn't planted the grass. It simply appeared. Dormant seeds had been hidden beneath the dead earth all along. Waiting. The wasteland didn't become a paradise overnight. It changed slowly. Patch by patch. Season by season. Noah didn't conquer the land. He helped it recover. The real trial. One morning, Noah woke beneath a small tree. He froze. Tree. He didn't remember planting one. Birdsong echoed overhead. Noah slowly stood. The wasteland was gone. Not entirely. Some distant regions remained barren. But around him, a living grassland stretched across the valley. Wildflowers bloomed. Streams flowed through newly formed channels. Birds flew overhead. Animals grazed in the distance. Noah's original little field had become the heart of an ecosystem. The 3 first plants still grew beside him. Old now, but alive. Noah smiled. We did it. The sky suddenly glowed. Words appeared. Trial complete. Noah waited. Then another message appeared. Evaluation. You were given 10 seeds. You did not waste them. You were offered immediate abundance. You refused to destroy life for convenience. You understood that cultivation is not forcing life to obey. It is creating a place where life can continue without you. Noah quietly read the final sentence. Then smiled. That sounds about right. A deep voice echoed across the world. Tell me, caretaker. Noah looked around. The voice came from everywhere. Mountains, earth, stone. Why do you cultivate? Noah thought about it. Once. His answer would have been simple. Money. He had been broke, hungry, desperate. The garden had given him a way out. Then he remembered the garden. Mira, Bramble, Asterion, the cloud sheep, the spirit foxes, verdant hollow, the villagers crying when their crops began growing again, the extinct seeds waiting inside the vault. Finally, Noah answered, because something should be better after I've cared for it. Silence. Then, laughter. Deep, slow, ancient. The mountains shook. A good answer. The door opens. Outside the trial, the ancient doors suddenly glowed. Everyone stood. Mira flew into the air. Noah. The seekers immediately became alert. Emerald light filled the sanctuary. The stone doors opened. Noah stepped through. His clothes were clean again. His injuries were gone. Only a little soil remained beneath his fingernails. Mira flew directly into his chest. You took forever. Noah caught her. How long? Cedric checked his pocket watch. 31 minutes. Noah stared. 31. Inside the trial, he had lived through months. Perhaps years. Asterion smiled. Trial realms don't obey normal time. Bramble approached. You succeeded. Noah nodded. I think so. The mountain answered. THOOOOOM. The entire sanctuary shook. Ancient runes ignited across every wall. The seeker leader stepped forward. This is it. Seraphine immediately blocked him. Stay where you are. But he wasn't looking at her. He was staring at the enormous wall behind Noah. It split. CRAAAAACK. Stone broke apart. An enormous staircase descended deep beneath the mountain. Golden light rose from below. The world compass reappeared in Noah's hand. Trial of the Earth complete. Guardian Sanctuary unlocked. Third Guardian Awakening available. Mira looked down the staircase. So Pterodon is down there. Asterion nodded. Yes, but his expression wasn't relieved. Because behind them, the Seekers had begun moving. The silver-masked leader slowly drew a black blade. So, the caretaker has opened the path. Dozens of Seekers reached beneath their cloaks. Seraphine raised her spear. Bramble growled. Water spiraled around Asterion. The Seeker leader smiled. Thank you, Noah, for completing the difficult part. Far below them, two enormous golden eyes opened in the darkness. And a voice older than the mountain itself rumbled through the sanctuary. Who disturbs my sleep? Chapter 26. The Third Guardian. Who? The voice rolled through the sanctuary like an earthquake. Dust poured from the ceiling. Ancient pillars groaned. Loose stones bounced across the floor. Disturbs my sleep. Nobody moved. Not Noah. Not his companions. Not even the Seekers. Far beneath them, beyond the newly opened staircase, two enormous golden eyes burned in the darkness. The third guardian was awake. Pterodon. The Seeker leader recovered first. Move. Dozens of silver-masked figures rushed toward the staircase. Seraphine's crimson spear struck the floor. BOOOOM. A wall of fire erupted across their path. I don't think so. Bramble stepped beside her. Silver light spread through his fur. Asterion raised one hand. Water spiraled around the chamber like living serpents. For the first time, the Seekers hesitated. Their leader stared at Noah. You opened the sanctuary. We're going inside. Noah tightened his hand around the world compass. No. The Seeker tilted his head. No. You spent the entire journey using traps and monsters to get here. Noah looked toward the staircase. And now you want me to let you walk past? He shook his head. Find your own guardian. Mira floated beside him. Yeah. Then she whispered. That sounded really cool. Noah whispered back. Thanks. Another tremor shook the mountain. THOOOOOM. The deep voice returned. Enough. Everyone froze. The stone floor cracked. Golden light surged through the fractures. The one who passed my trial. Descend. Noah looked toward his companions. Bramble nodded. Go. Asterion smiled. We'll keep your guests entertained. Cedric looked toward the Seekers. I would like to clarify that I am not fighting anyone. Lady Elyria sighed. We know. I provide logistical support. You hide behind me. Strategic logistical support. Even Noah laughed. Then he turned toward the stairs. Into the mountain. Mira tried following. An invisible barrier immediately appeared. Bonk. She bounced backward. Ow. Noah stopped. Mira. The same ancient message appeared. Only the successful caretaker may approach the guardian. Mira rubbed her forehead. Again. Noah smiled apologetically. I'll be back. You better. He descended alone. The staircase spiraled deep beneath the mountain. With every step, the temperature dropped, yet the golden light grew brighter. Ancient carvings covered the walls. Noah recognized scenes similar to those in Verdant Hollow. Farmers cultivating terraces, dwarves carving irrigation channels, through mountains, giants carrying enormous stones, and among them, a gigantic tortoise. Its shell carried forests and mountains. Wherever it walked, plants grew. Noah touched one carving. Pterodon. The mountain answered. Thoom. Eventually, the staircase ended. Noah stepped into an enormous cavern. He stopped breathing. The chamber was so vast he couldn't see the ceiling. Entire forests of glowing crystals grew from the walls. Underground rivers flowed through deep valleys. Stone pillars larger than skyscrapers supported distant cliffs. And at the center was a mountain. At least, Noah thought it was a mountain. Until it moved. Grrrrrrrrmmm. Stone cracked. Trees growing across the enormous shape shook. Two golden eyes opened. A colossal head slowly rose. Noah's mouth fell open. Oh, the creature before him was beyond enormous. A tortoise larger than entire towns. Its shell was a living mountain range. Forests covered its back. Crystal formations grew between rocky ridges. Small waterfalls flowed from the shell and disappeared into the cavern below. Ancient runes covered its stone-like skin. The guardian lowered its head. One golden eye alone was larger than Noah's entire body. Small. Noah blinked. Excuse me. You are very small. Compared to you, I think everyone is. The guardian stared at him. Then, a deep rumbling sound filled the cavern. Noah realized Pterodon was laughing. Good. You possess humor. Guardian of earth and mountains. The enormous tortoise lowered its head further. I am Pterodon. Guardian of earth. Keeper of mountains. Third guardian of the world tree. Noah bowed his head. I'm Noah Reyes. I know. Noah looked up. You do. I watched your trial. Pterodon's golden eyes softened. Every seed. Every drop of water. Every choice. Noah looked around. So the trial was mine. Pterodon's voice shook the cavern. Strength may protect life. Water may nourish life. But earth, one massive claw pressed against the ground, must carry it. The cavern glowed. Thousands of tiny plants emerged between the rocks. Those who cultivate the earth must understand patience. They must understand restraint. And above all, Pterodon looked directly at Noah. They must understand that the land does not belong to them. Noah smiled. We belong to it too. Silence. Pterodon's golden eye widened slightly. Then the ancient guardian laughed again. Precisely. An ancient memory. Pterodon closed his eyes. The cavern disappeared. Noah suddenly found himself standing beneath the original world tree. Not physically. A memory. Around him stretched the garden from thousands of years ago. Floating islands. Endless forests. Crystal oceans. Cities belonging to dozens of races. And beneath everything, Pterodon walked. Where his feet touched the ground, mountains rose. Bramble ran through enormous forests. Asterion flew above vast rivers. Noah stared in wonder. The original garden. Pterodon's voice echoed through the memory. We built it together. The scene changed. Darkness spread. Forests burned. Rivers turned black. The world tree trembled. Noah saw 10 enormous figures surrounding it. The guardians. But their enemies were hidden behind shadows. When the garden fell, we were commanded to sleep. The memory shattered. Noah returned to the cavern. Pterodon looked tired, ancient, sad. I believed I would never awaken again. Noah placed a hand against the guardian's enormous stone claw. Then come home. Pterodon became completely still. Noah smiled. The garden is growing again. Bramble is there. Asterion too. Mira will probably climb all over you. Who is Mira? A fairy. Pterodon considered this. I fear fairies. Noah stared. They decorate sleeping guardians. Noah tried not to laugh. It is not amusing. It kind of is. The bond. The world compass floated from Noah's hand. It transformed into emerald light. A symbol appeared between Noah and Pterodon. A mountain beneath a growing tree. A message appeared. Third guardian identified. Pterodon. Aspect: Earth and Mountains. Guardian bond available. Pterodon's voice became solemn. Noah Reyes, you passed my trial without power. Without blessing. Without certainty of reward. You cultivated life simply because life had been entrusted to you. The enormous guardian lowered his head. I acknowledge you. Golden light erupted across the cavern. Noah shielded his eyes. From this day forward, my earth shall support your garden. My mountains shall shelter its people. My strength shall defend the life you cultivate. The symbol entered Noah's chest. Guardian bond established. Third guardian, Terradon. Status: awakened. Guardian authority increased. 3/10 guardians awakened. The mountain exploded with light. The third guardian awakens. Outside the sanctuary, everyone felt it. The entire southern ruins shook. Not violently. Rhythmically. Like a heartbeat. Thoom. 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 Green light spread through every crack in the ancient city. Dead trees began budding. Dry fountains filled with water. Flowers erupted between broken stones. At Verdant Hollow, Elder Rowan stepped outside. The dormant world tree shrine suddenly blazed with emerald light. The dead sapling produced one tiny green leaf. Rowan fell to his knees. The guardian. Inside the mountain temple, the seekers stared in shock. Their black crystals shattered one after another. The seeker leader stepped backward. No, that's impossible. Asterion smiled. Why? The seeker looked toward him. The guardian bonded immediately. Bramble's golden eyes gleamed. Of course he did. The staircase erupted with golden light. Everyone shielded their eyes. Then, footsteps. Slow, heavy. Step, step, step. Mira peeked through her fingers. Noah emerged. And beside him walked an elderly man. He was enormous. Nearly 7 feet tall. Broad-shouldered. His long dark green hair was streaked with gray. Golden eyes glowed beneath thick eyebrows. His robes resembled layered stone and moss. Small crystal formations decorated his shoulders. Mira stared. Who's the giant grandpa? The man's eyebrow twitched. Noah immediately covered his mouth. Asterion's smile widened. Bramble actually looked amused. The old man slowly turned toward Mira. I heard that. Mira hid behind Noah. Pterodon. The man sighed. Unfortunately. Asterion stepped forward. For several seconds, the two ancient guardians simply stared at one another. Then Asterion smiled. You're old. Pterodon stared at him. You were annoying 2,000 years ago. And you're still old. Pterodon raised one fist. Asterion immediately stepped behind Noah. Violence isn't the answer. Noah stared at him. You're an ancient dragon. I have matured. Bramble snorted. Then Pterodon looked toward Bramble. The humor disappeared. The two guardians approached. Pterodon placed one enormous hand against Bramble's head. It has been a long time. Bramble closed his golden eyes. Brother. For a moment, nobody spoke. 3 guardians of the world tree. Together again. The seekers, mistake. The seeker leader broke the silence. Touching. Everyone turned. The seekers had surrounded them. Black magic spread across their weapons. Seraphine raised her spear. So much for watching. The leader laughed. Our objective hasn't changed. He looked directly at Pterodon. We came for the guardian. Pterodon stared at him, then looked at Noah. Who are these people? The seekers. What did they seek? Apparently you. Pterodon slowly turned back toward them. Me. The seeker leader raised his black blade. Third guardian Pterodon. Submit peacefully. Silence. Pterodon looked at Asterion, then Bramble, then Noah. Finally, back at the seekers. His expression became genuinely confused. You entered my mountain, awakened my defenses, threatened my caretaker, and now, his golden eyes began glowing. You demand that I submit. The seeker leader's confidence disappeared. Pterodon cracked his knuckles. The entire mountain cracked with him. Craack. Asterion smiled. Oh, I remember that expression. Bramble stepped forward. As do I. Mira looked between them. What expression? Asterion gently moved her behind Noah. The one he makes before someone has a very bad day. The seekers raised their weapons. Pterodon took one step forward. Golden light exploded through the sanctuary. The earth answered its guardian. Stone walls rose. Ancient runes ignited. The entire mountain roared. For the first time, Bramble, Asterion, and Pterodon stood together. 3 guardians of the world tree. The Seeker leader tightened his grip around his weapon. Attack. No's eyes widened. Because this time, the Seekers weren't running, and the first true battle for the garden was about to begin. Chapter 27 The First Battle. Attack. The Seeker leader's command echoed through the mountain sanctuary. Dozens of silver-masked figures moved at once. Black magic erupted from their weapons. Seraphine lowered her crimson spear. Bramble's silver fur blazed with light. Water spiraled around Asterion. Pterodon's golden eyes narrowed. And Noah. Noah took one look at the army rushing toward them and made a very sensible decision. He stepped backward. Cedric immediately joined him. Excellent strategy. Noah looked at him. I'm not a fighter. Neither am I. Lady Elyria sighed. At least Noah admits it. Cedric placed a hand against his chest. I am an expert in tactical survival. You hide. Precisely. 3 guardians. The first wave reached them. Bramble moved. Noah barely saw it happen. One moment, the enormous silver wolf stood beside him. The next, boom. Bramble crashed into the Seekers. Silver light exploded across the sanctuary. 5 attackers were thrown backward without Bramble's claws ever touching them. He landed between Noah and the enemy. None pass. 3 Seekers attacked simultaneously. Bramble's tail swept across the ground. Wham! They flew into a stone wall. Mira's eyes sparkled. Bramble is so cool. Bramble's ears twitched proudly. Asterion laughed. He's going to become unbearable if you keep saying that. Then the Azure Guardian raised one hand. Every drop of water inside the sanctuary responded. Water rushed from underground cracks. It spiraled around him, compressed, then exploded outward. Shura aash. A massive wave swept through the Seekers. Instead of crushing them against the walls, the water wrapped around their limbs. Dozens were suspended helplessly in floating spheres. Asterion smiled. I've become much more civilized. Pterodon stared at him. You drowned an army once. That was 2,000 years ago. 3 armies. I was young. You were already 900. Asterion coughed. Age is relative for dragons. Pterodon stepped forward. A Seeker charged him. The Guardian didn't move. The black blade struck his chest. Clang. The weapon shattered. The Seeker stared at the broken hilt. Pterodon looked down. Finished. Good. He flicked one finger. Boom. The Seeker flew across the chamber. Noah winced. Is he okay? Seraphine glanced over. Probably. Pterodon looked offended. I restrained myself. Asterion nodded solemnly. He did. Noah decided not to ask what not restraining himself looked like. The Seekers, real strength. But the battle wasn't over. The silver-masked attackers regrouped. Their movements changed. They stopped rushing individually. Instead, they formed circles. Black crystals appeared in their hands. Asterion's expression immediately changed. Careful. The crystals shattered. Crack. Dark energy spread across the floor. Ancient symbols appeared beneath the Guardians. Bramble suddenly stumbled. Asterion's water collapsed. Pterodon's body became heavy. Mira gasped. What happened? The Seeker leader smiled. Did you think we came unprepared? He lifted his black blade. Guardian suppression formation. Chains made from dark magic erupted from the symbols. They wrapped around Bramble, Asterion, Pterodon. The 3 guardians struggled. The sanctuary shook. But the chains held. Seraphine's eyes widened. They can restrain guardians. Lady Elyria shook her head. Temporarily. The Seeker leader looked toward Noah. That's all we need. Several Seekers changed direction. They weren't attacking the Guardians anymore. They were coming for Noah. Bramble roared. Noah. Seraphine moved immediately. Her spear became a streak of crimson light. Clang. She blocked the first attacker. Then the second. Then the third. But more came. Too many. Noah backed away. Cedric grabbed Mira. Perhaps now would be an excellent time for tactical survival. Mira struggled. Put me down. You're approximately the size of a loaf of bread. You're coming with me. I am not bread. Lady Elyria raised both hands. Roots burst from cracks in the floor. They wrapped around several Seekers. But black blades cut through them. One attacker slipped past Seraphine. Straight toward Noah. Noah saw the blade coming. He couldn't dodge. Then, boom, a stone wall erupted between them. The Seeker slammed into it. Noah stared. Pterodon remained bound across the chamber. But one golden eye was focused on him. My caretaker. The Guardian's voice became dangerously low. Will not be touched. The earth shook. The black chains around Pterodon cracked. The Seeker leader's expression changed. Strengthened the formation. More crystals activated. Pterodon lowered his head. The floor beneath him shattered. You are using Earth. The ancient guardian growled. To bind the guardian of Earth. Asterion laughed despite his chains. I was wondering when he'd notice. Pterodon's eyes blazed. Insolent. Boom. Every suppression rune shattered. The mountain answers. Pterodon slammed one foot into the ground. The entire battlefield changed. Stone pillars erupted beneath the Seekers. Not impaling them. Launching them. One after another. Boom. 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 Silver masked figures flew through the air. Mira pointed excitedly. They're bouncing. Noah stared. They are. Cedric nodded. Remarkably effective. With Pterodon's suppression broken, the others recovered. Bramble tore through his chains. Asterion dissolved his into water. 3 guardians stood together again. The Seeker leader finally stepped backward. For the first time, he looked uncertain. Noah's choice. Then Noah noticed something. The battle was destroying the sanctuary. Cracks spread through ancient pillars. Stone carvings shattered. Underground streams were being blocked by debris. And above them, verdant hollow rested on the same mountain system. Stop. Nobody heard him. Another explosion shook the chamber. Noah shouted louder. Stop. This time, Pterodon heard. His fist stopped inches before striking another Seeker. Asterion's water froze in midair. Bramble turned. Seraphine stared at Noah. What? The mountain. Noah pointed toward the widening cracks. If this continues. Pterodon immediately understood. The village. The Seeker leader laughed. You've finally noticed. Noah looked at him. You knew. Of course. The Seeker spread his arms. Your guardians can destroy us. But how much of the mountain will remain afterward? Pterodon's expression darkened. The Seekers had never expected to overpower 3 guardians. They wanted the guardians to fight recklessly. To destabilize the sanctuary. Perhaps even bury Pterodon again. Noah took a slow breath. Then looked toward his companions. Don't attack them. Seraphine stared at him. What? Protect. Asterion's eyes brightened. He understood. Bramble lowered his stance. Pterodon smiled. Very well. The Seekers attacked again. But this time, the Guardians didn't meet force with force. Bramble intercepted attackers and pushed them away without destructive strikes. Asterion turned his water into barriers. Pterodon reinforced the cracked walls instead of breaking the battlefield. Seraphine defended Noah. Lady Elyria restrained enemies with roots. Slowly, the Seekers lost their advantage. They could attack, but they couldn't force the Guardians into destroying their own sanctuary. The Seeker leader's smile disappeared. How irritating. Noah looked at him. You expected us to destroy what we're trying to protect. The man said nothing. That's the difference between us. The black seed. Suddenly, the leader reached beneath his cloak. He removed something small. Black. Noah's eyes widened. A seed. But unlike the ancient seeds in the Ark, this one looked rotten. Dark smoke curled from its shell. Nature's insight activated instinctively. For the first time since entering the mountain, a warning filled Noah's vision. Danger. Unknown corrupted seed. Life structure. Artificially altered. Purpose. Parasitic consumption. Do not plant. No. The Seeker smiled. Then dropped it. The black seed touched the earth. Crack. Roots exploded outward. Black vines covered the floor. They climbed pillars. Entered cracks. Wrapped around ancient carvings. Everywhere they touched, life disappeared. Moss turned gray. Roots withered. The underground river darkened. Pterodon's face changed. What have you done? The Seeker leader stepped backward. What we came here to test. The corrupted plant grew rapidly. A massive black flower emerged from the center of the sanctuary. Its petals opened. Inside, there was no pollen, only darkness. Asterion's face went pale. No. Bramble growled. I remember this. Pterodon stared. So do I. Noah looked between them. What is it? Asterion answered quietly. Something from the fall of the garden. The first battle changes. The black flower screamed. Not like a plant. Like something alive. Scree. Every ancient light inside the sanctuary flickered. The Seekers began retreating. Seraphine noticed. They're leaving. The Seeker leader reached the corridor. Noah shouted. You planted this. The silver mask turned toward him. No. We merely carried the seed. Someone else created it. Pterodon slammed stone walls across the exits. But black vines burst through them. The seekers escaped into the tunnels. Bramble moved to pursue. Noah stopped him. Bramble. The wolf turned. Noah pointed toward the spreading corruption. The sanctuary first. Bramble hesitated, then nodded. The sanctuary first. The black roots continued spreading. Toward the mountain. Toward the ruins. Toward verdant hollow. Pterodon placed both hands against the ground. Golden barriers formed around the corruption. I can contain it. For how long? Noah asked. Pterodon didn't answer. That was answer enough. Noah approached the edge of the black roots. Nature's insight screamed warnings. But underneath them, he sensed something. The plant was alive. Wrong. Corrupted. Artificial. But alive. Which meant, it had needs. Weaknesses. A structure. Noah's eyes narrowed. Asterion. Yes. I need clean water. Asterion smiled. How much? As much as you can give me. Pterodon. The ancient guardian looked toward him. I need fresh soil. Uncorrupted. Pterodon nodded. Bramble. Yes. Protect them while I figure out how to kill a plant. Mira landed on Noah's shoulder. And me. Noah looked at the tiny fairy. You know plants better than anyone here. Her eyes widened. Then she smiled. Right. For the first time since the battle began. Noah stepped toward the enemy instead of away from it. Not with a sword. Not with magic. But with the knowledge that had brought him this far. The knowledge of a farmer. The black flower turned toward him. Its enormous petals opened. Noah rolled up his sleeves. Okay. Let's see what's wrong with you. Far away. Deep beneath another ruin. The seeker leader knelt before a shadowy figure reflected inside a black crystal. The third guardian has awakened. A voice answered. And the seed successfully germinated. Silence. Then, a quiet laugh. Excellent. The seeker lowered his head. The caretaker is attempting to destroy it. No. The voice sounded almost amused. He will attempt to save the land around it. The seeker looked up. How can you know? The shadow opened two ancient, colorless eyes. Because, that is what caretakers always do. Back beneath the southern mountain. The corrupted flower screamed again. Noah stood before it. Behind him, 3 guardians prepared to follow his instructions. The first direct battle with the Seekers was over. They had retreated, but they had left behind something far more dangerous than an army. A piece of the force that had once destroyed the original garden. Chapter 28 Garden Expansion. The corrupted flower screamed. Scree. Black vines lashed across the ancient sanctuary. Wherever they touched, moss shriveled. Stone cracked. The clean underground river darkened. Pterodon stood with both hands pressed against the earth, golden barriers surrounding the corruption. Quickly, caretaker. His jaw tightened. The roots are digging deeper. Noah stood only a few meters from the black flower. Nature's insight flooded his vision with warnings. Unknown corrupted plant. Classification. Artificial parasitic life. Condition. Rapid growth. Primary function. Consume surrounding vitality and mana. Root depth. Increasing. Warning. Do not allow connection to regional ley lines. Noah's face changed. Pterodon. Yes. What's beneath us? The guardian's golden eyes narrowed. The mountain's ley lines. Noah looked back at the flower. If its roots reach them. Pterodon finished quietly. It will spread throughout the southern ruins. And Verdant Hollow was part of those ruins. A farmer versus a monster. Seraphine stepped forward. Then burn it. No. Noah answered immediately. She looked at him. Why? The roots. He pointed toward the floor. If we destroy the flower without killing the underground root system, it'll probably grow back. Mira floated close to one of the vines. She squinted. It's drinking everything. Noah nodded. So we make it stop drinking. Cedric blinked. How exactly does one convince a murderous plant to change its diet? We don't. Noah rolled up his sleeves. We starve it. He looked toward the guardians. Asterion, clean water. The Azure Guardian smiled. Already prepared. He raised both hands. The corrupted underground river suddenly stopped. Then it flowed backward. Blue light spread through the water as Asterion purified it. Black contamination hissed away. Pterodon. Fresh soil. The guardian stamped one foot. Thoom. Stone split. Rich brown earth rose from deep underground, forming a wide ring around the corrupted plant. Bramble. The silver wolf stepped forward. Protect the perimeter. Nothing crosses that ring. Bramble's eyes glowed. Understood. Noah knelt beside the fresh soil. then reached into his traveling bag. Lady Elyria noticed. What are you doing? Planting. Everyone stared at him. Seraphine looked toward the gigantic black flower. Now, especially now, competing roots. Noah removed several packets of fast-growing garden herbs. Spirit mint, sunroot grass, silver clover. Ordinarily, he would never plant them together. They competed aggressively for nutrients. Which was exactly what he needed. He scattered the seeds around the corruption. Asterion flooded the fresh soil with purified water. Pterodon infused it with earth mana. Mira released sparkling fairy dust. Immediately, whoosh, green shoots erupted. Roots spread underground. Fast, hungry, aggressive. Nature's insight updated. Root competition detected. Corrupted plant nutrient intake. 100% right pointing arrow 81%. Noah smiled. It's working. The black flower screamed. Its vines attacked the new plants. Bramble intercepted them. His claws flashed. Slash. The vines were cut apart. But Noah shouted, "Don't let the pieces touch soil." Bramble changed direction instantly. Asterion caught every severed vine inside spheres of water. The pieces dissolved under purification magic. More herbs grew. Corrupted plant nutrient intake, 63%. Then, 47%. The enormous flower began shrinking. Its petals curled, but its deepest roots remained active. Noah frowned. Still not enough. Mira flew near him. The roots are protecting something. Where? She pointed toward the center. Underneath. Pterodon placed one hand against the floor. His eyes closed, then opened. There is a core. How deep? 47 meters. Cedric stared. That's a very committed weed. Noah looked at Pterodon. Can you bring it up? The guardian grinned. Finally. He cracked his knuckles. A task worthy of me. Asterion sighed. Please don't collapse the mountain. Pterodon glared. I know how mountains work. You slept inside one for 2,000 years. Exactly. Pterodon raised one hand. The earth rumbled, but instead of violently breaking apart, layers of stone shifted delicately. Like soil being loosened around a root. The corrupted plant's underground network slowly rose. Black roots appeared. 10 meters. 20. 30. Finally, a pulsing black object emerged. A seed-shaped core. Noah's vision flashed. Corruption core exposed. Weakness identified. Cannot survive purified world tree vitality. Noah froze. World tree vitality. Then remembered. He opened his bag again. Inside one protected pouch were the seeds from the Ark of Seeds. And among them, the mysterious unknown heritage seed. It was glowing. The golden seed. Noah carefully removed it. Asterion's expression changed. The seed from the vault. The golden seed pulsed. Once. Twice. Then nature's insight finally responded. Unknown heritage seed. Resonance detected. Compatible environment found. Germination possible. Mira gasped. It wants to grow. Noah looked at the corrupted core. Then at the golden seed. He understood. He planted it. Right beside the corruption. For several seconds. Nothing happened. Then, ting. A tiny golden root emerged. It touched the black core. The entire sanctuary became silent. The corrupted flower stopped moving. Its enormous petals froze. Then, golden light traveled through every black root. Crack. One vine shattered. Then another. Then thousands. The corruption didn't explode. It simply turned to dust. The massive flower collapsed into harmless gray particles. The underground river became clear. Moss regained its color. The mountain breathed again. Everyone stared. Cedric broke the silence. That was. He paused. Surprisingly agricultural. Noah laughed. I'll take that as a compliment. But the golden seed wasn't finished. Its roots continued spreading. A tiny shoot emerged. Then 2 leaves. A small golden plant stood where the corruption had been. Nature's insight appeared. Species identified. First light clover. Classification. Ancient restoration plant. Status. Extinct, previously. Ability. Purifies corrupted soil and restores damaged mana channels. Noah stared. So that's what you were. Asterion smiled. One lost species returned. Noah carefully gathered several newly formed seeds. And this time, we won't lose it again. The third guardian comes home. By afternoon, the sanctuary had stabilized. Pterodon restored the damaged pillars. Asterion purified the waterways. Bramble searched the surrounding tunnels for remaining seekers. There were none. They had escaped. Noah didn't like that. But the southern ruins were safe. For now. Before returning to Verdant Hollow, Pterodon changed back into his colossal true form. The entire mountain shook as the enormous tortoise emerged from beneath it. Villagers ran from their houses. Then stopped. Pterodon's shell rose above the surrounding hills. Forests and waterfalls covered his back. Golden runes glowed across his stone body. Elder Rowan slowly removed his hat. The guardian. Pterodon lowered his enormous head toward the village. Children of verdant stone. Everyone fell silent. Your ancestors protected my sanctuary while I slept. I remember their promise. The elder's eyes filled with tears. Pterodon continued. And I remember mine. One enormous claw touched the ground. Golden light spread across every terrace. The soil darkened. Springs erupted from stone. Ancient irrigation channels filled with clean water. The dormant world tree shrine glowed. Its dead sapling produced a second leaf. Then a third. The villagers began crying. Their home was alive again. Noah smiled. Pterodon looked toward him. Caretaker. Ready to see the garden. The mountain-sized tortoise stared. Will I fit? Noah paused. Mira burst out laughing. Pterodon's eye narrowed. Fairy. Mira immediately hid behind Noah. Home. The group finally returned through the Emerald Gateway. The moment Pterodon crossed the threshold, everything changed. The world tree blazed with light. Silver leaves filled the sky. The young world tree descendant shook excitedly. Cloud sheep scattered. Spirit foxes peeked from the grass. Crystal deer raised their heads. The garden recognized its third guardian. A message appeared before Noah. Third guardian returned. Pterodon, guardian of earth and mountains. Guardian restoration, 3/10. World tree synchronization increased. Garden expansion available. Noah blinked. Expansion. Pterodon smiled. Watch. He placed one hand against the ground. Boom. Noah nearly fell over. The horizon moved. Literally. The garden began expanding. Fields stretched outward. Forests shifted. Rivers extended. Entire landscapes appeared where empty mist had existed before. Mira flew upward. Noah, look. The mountain region. Far beyond the original farmland. Mountains rose. Not small hills. Enormous emerald mountains. Waterfalls poured from their cliffs. Pine forests covered their slopes. Crystal caves appeared beneath them. A message appeared. New region unlocked. Pterodon's mountain range. Features. Rare mineral deposits. Magical stone. Crystal caverns. High-altitude medicinal plants. Mountain springs. Ancient cultivation terraces. Cedric's eyes widened. Rare minerals. Lady Elyria grabbed his cloak. No, I haven't done anything. Your eyes became money-shaped. They did not. The fertile valleys. Between the mountains. Vast valleys appeared. Black soil. Clear rivers. Wildflowers. Natural terraces perfect for farming. Nature's insight overwhelmed Noah. New cultivation zone detected. Soil quality. Mythic. Compatible crops. 4,732. Noah's eyes widened. 4,000. Mira appeared beside him. We need more seeds. Noah laughed. Good thing we just found a vault. The ancient seeds from Verdant Hollow suddenly began glowing inside Noah's bag. Stargrain wheat. Moonwell rice. Sunroot carrots. Crystal beans. Cloudberry vines. Each reacted to a different part of the newly expanded garden. Asterion smiled. It seems Pterodon awakened exactly when we needed him. The medicinal forest. Another region appeared beyond the valleys. A quiet forest filled with glowing herbs. Blue flowers covered the ground. Silver mushrooms grew beneath enormous trees. Warm mist drifted between the roots. Lady Elyria's calm expression disappeared. She ran. Everyone stared. Cedric pointed. Did Elyria just run? Asterion nodded. I believe so. They followed. Lady Elyria was kneeling beside a tiny purple flower. Her hands trembled. Dreambell. She looked toward another. White phoenix root. Another. Star moss. She slowly turned toward Noah. These medicinal plants have been extinct for centuries. Noah smiled. Then I guess you have a new garden to manage. Lady Elyria stared. Me, if you want. She looked around the forest. For perhaps the first time since Noah had met her. The elegant elven merchant looked genuinely speechless. Then she smiled. I would. Pterodon's home. At the center of the mountain region. A gigantic lake formed. Beside it rose a broad stone plateau. Pterodon stared. My resting place. Mira landed on his shoulder. So you're going to sleep again? No. Good. She produced a flower crown. Pterodon's face became horrified. No. Mira smiled. Yes. No. Welcome home. She placed it on his head. Pterodon looked toward Noah. You promised this would happen. I warned you. Asterion was laughing so hard he had to sit down. Bramble quietly turned away, but his shoulders were shaking. For the first time in 2,000 years. Pterodon was home. The garden has grown. That evening, Noah climbed one of the new hills. From there, he could see everything. The original farm, the world tree, the crystal awakening lake, the eternal forest, the new mountain range, medicinal forests, mineral caves, vast fertile valleys waiting to be cultivated. The garden was no longer a hidden patch of paradise. It was becoming a world. Asterion stood beside him. Beautiful, isn't it? Noah nodded. We have a lot of work to do. Asterion laughed. Of course that's your first thought. The world compass appeared. 3 symbols now glowed. Bramble, Asterion, Pterodon. 7 remained dark. Noah looked toward them. 7 more. Pterodon joined them. And with every guardian, the garden will remember more of itself. Noah opened his hand. Several ancient seeds rested in his palm. He smiled. Then while we're looking, we'll bring back everything else too. Lost plants, forgotten farms, broken shrines, maybe even forgotten communities like Verdant Hollow. The garden wouldn't only restore itself. It would help restore the world around it. Far beyond the garden, travelers had already begun telling stories. Stories about a young human caretaker. About dead farmland becoming fertile again. About the third guardian awakening. About extinct plants returning. The stories traveled with merchants, adventurers, caravans, and wandering spirits. Across kingdoms, different races began asking the same question. Was the legendary garden truly open again? And one by one, they began preparing for the journey. Toward Noah, toward the world tree, toward a garden that had suddenly become much larger. Chapter 29 Friends Across the World. 3 days after Pterodon's return, Noah discovered a new problem. It wasn't the Seekers. It wasn't corruption. It wasn't an ancient monster. It was paperwork. A terrifying amount of paperwork. Noah sat at the long wooden table inside the garden cottage, staring at several enormous stacks of letters. There were letters written on parchment. Letters carved onto thin pieces of wood. Letters made from enchanted leaves. One appeared to have been written on a piece of polished stone. Another was glowing. And one was moving. Noah stared at the tiny folded paper walking across the table on little paper legs. Should I open that? Cedric immediately shook his head. Not yet. Why? It bites. The letter stopped, turned toward Cedric, and snapped its paper mouth. Chomp. Cedric moved his hand. See. Mira laughed so hard she fell into a basket of strawberries. Everyone has heard. Noah picked up another letter. Where did all of these come from? Cedric adjusted his glasses. Everywhere. He began sorting them. The Dwarven Confederation. The Kingdom of Silveris. 3 beast folk territories. 2 spirit enclaves. The Adventurers, free cities. The Merchant Union. A wandering giant clan. Several independent alchemists. He paused. And someone named Grandmother Mushroom. Noah blinked. Who? Lady Elyria looked up from the medicinal herbs she was organizing. You should answer that one. Why? She's very polite. Cedric leaned closer. And terrifying. Noah stared at the mountain of letters. 3 days. That was all it had taken. News about the third guardian's awakening had spread far beyond the southern ruins. But that wasn't the only story traveling across the world. People were talking about Verdant Hollow. About its dying farmland suddenly recovering. About the world tree shrine producing leaves again. About extinct crops being discovered inside the Ark of Seeds. And about Noah. He opened one letter. To the caretaker of the returning garden. We do not seek your treasures. We ask only permission to visit the world tree and offer seeds from our homeland. Noah became quiet. He opened another. Our people remember the old stories. If the garden truly welcomes travelers again, we wish to bring knowledge rather than weapons. Another. We heard you repaired a village before pursuing the guardian. A man who stops a race to help farmers is someone we would like to meet. Noah slowly lowered the letter. Mira floated beside him. They like you. Noah scratched his cheek. They don't even know me. Asterion, sitting nearby with a cup of tea, smiled. They know what you did. A different kind of problem. Pterodon entered the cottage. In his human form, the enormous guardian still had to duck beneath the doorway. He carried a basket. Noah looked toward him. What's that? Pterodon placed it on the table. Turnips. Mira immediately appeared. You grew them. Pterodon frowned. I am the guardian of Earth. That doesn't answer the question. Pterodon crossed his arms. Yes. Noah picked one up. It was enormous. Almost the size of his head. Nature's insight activated. Mountain turnip. Quality, excellent. Texture, extremely dense. Flavor, mildly sweet. Noah smiled. Not bad. Pterodon looked proud. Asterion took a bite. Crunch. Everyone stared. Asterion slowly chewed, then looked at Pterodon. Rock. Pterodon's eyebrow twitched. It is a turnip. It's a geological event. You eat raw fish. I am a dragon. You are annoying. Bramble quietly took a turnip and walked away before the argument could continue. Noah laughed, then looked back at the letters. What do we do? Cedric smiled. Open the garden. Silence. Noah looked at him. To everyone. Not everyone. Cedric's expression became serious. The Seekers have proven that secrecy alone won't protect us anymore. Lady Elyria nodded. And the more isolated the garden remains, the easier it becomes for others to fear it. Seraphine, leaning against the wall, added. Or believe whatever rumors the Seekers spread. Noah understood. The garden needed allies, not soldiers. Friends. People who cared whether it survived. He looked toward the world tree outside. Then let's invite them. Mira threw both hands into the air. Garden party. Cedric immediately corrected her. Diplomatic gathering. Garden party. International summit. Garden party. Cedric sighed. Fine. The garden opens. 1 week later, the Emerald Gateway opened. Noah waited beneath the world tree with his companions. He had expected perhaps 20 visitors. Maybe 30. The first group arrived. Dwarves. Then beast folk. Then elves. Then forest spirits. Then adventurers. Then merchants. Then wandering scholars. Then alchemists. Then, Noah slowly turned toward Cedric. How many invitations did you send? Cedric looked away. Define invitation. Cedric. 187. Noah's face went blank. Mira whispered. Garden party. Fortunately, the expanded garden had more than enough room. Long tables had been placed beneath the world tree. Fresh fruit filled baskets. Bread made from garden wheat covered wooden platters. Silverleaf tea flowed continuously. Cloud sheep wandered around the visitors. Spirit foxes immediately began stealing food. And Pterodon had been assigned one important responsibility. Do not scare anyone. Pterodon looked offended. I am perfectly approachable. A tiny beast folk child stared up at the 7-foot guardian. Pterodon stared down. The child slowly hid behind her mother. Pterodon looked toward Noah. Why? Mira placed another flower crown on his head. There. Now you're friendly. Pterodon closed his eyes. I miss sleeping. The dwarves. The first official delegation came from the Ironroot Confederation. Their representative was a broad dwarf named Master Boran Stonehand. He carried no weapon. Instead, he carried a pickaxe. Noah looked at it. Boran immediately raised both hands. Tool, not weapon. Noah laughed. I believe you. Boran's eyes moved toward Pterodon's new mountain range. Then widened. Are those? He ran. Cedric sighed. They always do that. Minutes later, Boran was kneeling beside a crystal formation. His hands trembled. Living mana crystal. Pterodon approached. Do not mind that. Boran immediately stood. Of course. He bowed. We didn't come to take. He removed several small stones from his backpack. We came to trade knowledge. They were mineral samples. Boran explained how dwarves cultivated certain magical plants underground using mineral-rich soil. Noah's eyes brightened. You farm underground. Boran grinned. Mushrooms. Root vegetables. Crystal moss. Stony vine. Noah immediately forgot about diplomacy. Show me. Cedric sighed. Of course. Within an hour, Noah and Boran were discussing underground irrigation. The dwarf had arrived hoping to meet a legendary caretaker. Instead, he found another person obsessed with soil. They became friends almost immediately. The beastfolk. The next group came from the Golden Plains. Beastfolk farmers. Foxfolk. Rabbitfolk. Deerfolk. Wolfkin. They brought sacks of seeds. Not magical ones. Ordinary crops from their homeland. Noah opened one bag. What are these? A rabbit folk farmer smiled. Sun beans. They grow even during drought. Another brought red plains millet. Another. Honeyroot yam. Nature's insight activated. None were legendary. None were worth fortunes. But Noah looked delighted. Can I plant them? The farmers stared. Now. Why wait? Soon. Half the delegation was standing in one of Pterodon's fertile valleys. Noah dug the first row himself. Visitors joined. Then villagers. Then adventurers. Even Seraphine somehow ended up carrying a watering can. She stared at it. How did this happen? Noah pointed toward the next row. That one needs water. Seraphine sighed. Yes, caretaker. But she was smiling. The forest spirits. When the forest spirits arrived, the garden reacted. Flowers opened everywhere. Tiny lights floated through the trees. At their center walked a strange woman. Her skin resembled pale bark. Mushrooms grew from her enormous hat. Noah slowly realized. Grandmother Mushroom. The ancient spirit smiled. Such a skinny little caretaker. Noah blinked. Before he could react, she pinched his cheek. You're not eating enough. Mira burst into laughter. Noah tried speaking. I'm eating fine. Nonsense. She handed him a mushroom. Eat. Lady Elyria quietly turned away. She was definitely laughing. Grandmother Mushroom brought something precious. A wooden box containing spores. These belonged to the old garden. Asterion immediately recognized them. Starlight mushrooms. The spirit nodded. We kept them alive, waiting for the world tree to return. Noah accepted the box carefully. Thank you. Grandmother Mushroom smiled. No. She looked toward the enormous world tree. Thank you for waking it. The adventurers. The adventurers were different. They didn't bring seeds or farming knowledge. They brought maps. Hundreds of them. Ancient ruins. Forgotten roads. Dangerous regions. Places where strange plants had been seen. One young adventurer unfolded a map. We heard you're looking for lost things. Noah studied it. Always. The adventurer pointed toward several locations. Then these might interest you. Cedric's eyes widened. Where did you get these? Years of traveling. Another adventurer smiled. We don't want payment. Noah looked up. Then what do you want? Permission to rest here sometimes. The adventurer looked toward the peaceful garden. No monsters. No bandits. No wars. Just. He watched cloud sheep sleeping beneath the world tree. Somewhere quiet. Noah smiled. Deal. Not customers. By sunset, something unexpected had happened. Nobody was negotiating enormous contracts. Nobody was demanding exclusive access. Nobody was asking Noah for legendary fruit. Instead, people exchanged things. Dwarves taught beast folk about mineral compost. Elves discussed medicinal herbs with human alchemists. Forest spirits traded mushroom spores for flower seeds. Adventurers marked dangerous regions on Cedric's maps. Children played with spirit foxes. And everyone ate together beneath the world tree. Noah stood quietly at the edge of the gathering. Cedric approached. Not quite what you expected. No. Noah smiled. It's better. Back on Earth, money had changed Noah's life. He had gone from counting coins for food to owning farms and businesses worth more than he could once imagine. But standing beneath the world tree, he realized something. This wasn't business. These weren't customers. They were people who wanted the garden to exist. People who wanted to contribute to it. People who wanted to protect what it represented. Bramble sat beside him. The garden once looked like this. Noah looked toward him. Before the fall, the wolf nodded. Many races. Many languages. Many arguments. Asterion shouted from across the gathering. Pterodon. Those are supposed to be cooked. Pterodon shouted back. They are vegetables. That doesn't mean you eat everything raw. Bramble's ears twitched. Many arguments. Noah laughed. A new beginning. That night, the world tree released thousands of silver leaves. They drifted over the gathering. Every visitor stopped. The leaves didn't fall. Instead, they became tiny lights. One light touched Boren's hand. Another touched a beast folk farmer. Another. Grandmother. Mushroom. Another. The adventurers. Hundreds of lights. The world tree was acknowledging them. Not as guardians. Not as servants. But as friends of the garden. A message appeared before Noah. Garden community established. New function unlocked. Friendship gate. Trusted visitors may now receive temporary passage to the garden. Noah stared. Temporary passage. Cedric's eyes widened. That means they won't need you to personally open the gateway every time. Mira cheered. More visitors. Cedric smiled. More trade. Lady Elyria added. More knowledge. Bramble looked around. More allies. Noah smiled. More friends. Across the world, the visitors eventually returned home. But they carried stories with them. In the Ironroot Confederation, Borin placed a tiny garden-grown tomato on the council table. The caretaker doesn't want our gold. The Dwarven King stared. What does he want? Borin grinned. Seeds. Across the Golden Plains, beastfolk farmers planted new crops using techniques learned from Noah. In ancient forests, spirits began preparing forgotten seeds for the garden. In adventurer guilds, maps appeared with a new symbol. A small green tree. Safe haven. And slowly, across kingdoms that had spent centuries distrusting one another, a shared place appeared. The garden. Neutral. Peaceful. Alive. But not everyone came as a friend. Late that night, after the final visitor departed, Noah walked beneath the world tree. He was exhausted. Mira was asleep inside his hood. Bramble walked beside him. Pterodon had already returned to his mountain. Asterion was somewhere arguing with Cedric about tea prices. Everything felt peaceful. Then, nature's insight activated. Noah stopped. A single silver leaf lay on the ground. Something black stained its edge. Warning. Residual corruption detected. Noah's smile disappeared. Bramble immediately lowered his head. From today, Noah nodded. Someone who had entered the garden had carried corruption with them. Perhaps unknowingly. Or perhaps not. Far beyond the garden, a cloaked traveler walked alone beneath the moon. Inside their pocket, a black crystal pulsed once. Then went dark. A whisper came from within. The path is confirmed. The traveler kept walking, and for the first time, the enemy had learned something far more valuable than the garden's location. They had learned how its friends entered. Chapter 30. The enemy behind the shadows. The garden was silent. Only a few hours earlier, hundreds of visitors had gathered beneath the world tree. Dwarves had argued about minerals. Beastfolk farmers had exchanged seeds. Forest spirits had filled the air with laughter. Adventurers had spread maps across every available table. For one wonderful day, the garden had felt like the world it had once been. Now everyone was gone, and Noah stood beneath the world tree holding a silver leaf stained with black corruption. Nature's insight remained active. Residual corruption detected. Origin, unknown. Threat level, low. Warning, foreign corruption entered garden territory. Noah's expression hardened. Someone had brought it inside. The first intruder. Bramble lowered his enormous head toward the leaf. His golden eyes narrowed. Same corruption. The flower. Similar. Asterion arrived moments later. Pterodon followed in human form. Lady Elyria and Seraphine came from the cottage. Cedric arrived carrying half a sandwich. Everyone stared. What? Mira pointed. This is serious. Cedric looked at his sandwich. I can be serious while eating. Mira nodded thoughtfully. Fair. Noah placed the leaf on the stone table. The corruption appeared after everyone left. Seraphine's expression darkened. So one of today's visitors was a seeker. Maybe. Noah shook his head. We don't know that. Pterodon crossed his arms. Someone carried it. That doesn't mean they knew. Lady Elyria nodded. Corruption can attach itself to magical objects. Asterion looked toward the world tree. Or people. The world tree suddenly shimmered. Thousands of silver leaves moved without wind. One branch lowered. A tiny point of emerald light appeared. Then, the air above the table transformed into an image. The day's visitors. Noah stared. The world tree remembers them. Asterion smiled faintly. It remembers everyone who walks beneath its branches. Images passed rapidly. Borin Stonehand. The beastfolk farmers. Grandmother Mushroom. Adventurers. Merchants. Alchemists. Spirits. Then, the image stopped. A cloaked traveler stood near the edge of the gathering. Noah frowned. I don't remember them. Cedric lowered his sandwich. Neither do I. The figure had spoken to no one. Eaten nothing. Traded nothing. They had simply walked through the garden. Observed. Then left. The image changed. For one brief moment, something beneath the traveler's cloak pulsed black. The silver leaves nearby recoiled. Seraphine reached for her spear. There. Noah nodded. Our intruder. The friendship gate. They hurried toward the newly created Friendship Gate. The gateway stood near the World Tree. Unlike No's original emerald door, this one resembled two living trees whose branches intertwined overhead. Trusted visitors could receive temporary passage. It was supposed to make travel easier. Now, the Seekers knew it existed. Pterodon placed one hand against the gate. They cannot simply enter. Noah looked toward him. Are you sure? The World Tree must recognize every traveler. Asterion nodded. Someone cannot steal another person's permission. Cedric relaxed slightly. So the garden isn't exposed. No. Bramble stared at the gate. But its roads are. Everyone became silent. Noah understood. The Friendship Gate didn't open randomly. It connected to specific ancient pathways outside the garden. If the Seekers mapped those paths, they could watch them, follow visitors, attack them, perhaps eventually discover weaknesses in the garden's protections. Noah closed his eyes. The garden had finally started making friends. He wasn't going to shut everyone out because of one infiltrator. No. Seraphine looked at him. No. We keep the gate open. Cedric smiled. I expected that. But we change how it works. Noah looked toward the World Tree. Nobody enters anonymously anymore. The tree shimmered. A message appeared. Caretaker request recognized. Friendship Gate security updated. Visitor identification required. Corruption screening activated. Unknown magical objects will be inspected before entry. Mira pumped her fist. Garden security. Pterodon looked confused. What is security? Noah laughed. I'll explain later. The black crystal. Far from the garden, the cloaked traveler walked beneath the moon. Eventually, they entered a ruined chapel. Silver-masked seekers waited inside. The traveler removed the black crystal from their pocket. The route is confirmed. The seeker leader from the southern ruins stepped forward. And the garden expanded. Third guardian awakened. Defenses. The traveler hesitated. Strong. The leader laughed. Everything has weaknesses. The black crystal was placed upon an altar. Dark smoke rose. The air became cold. Every seeker immediately knelt. Even their leader. The traveler dropped to one knee. A shadow appeared inside the crystal. Tall. Thin. Crowned. Its body resembled the silhouette of a dead tree. Two pale eyes opened. The seekers spoke together. Your Majesty. The shadow's voice was barely louder than a whisper. Yet the entire chapel trembled. Report. The seeker leader lowered his head. The third guardian has joined the caretaker. Silence. We successfully tested the withered seed. The shadow's fingers moved. And the caretaker purified it. Another silence. The seekers waited nervously. Then the shadow laughed. Of course he did. The leader looked up. Your Majesty. A true caretaker would never allow corrupted earth to remain. The pale eyes narrowed. The World Tree has chosen well. There was no anger in the voice. That frightened the seekers more than rage would have. The name. Back inside the garden, Asterion stood beneath the World Tree. He had been silent for several minutes. Noah noticed. You know something. The Azure Guardian didn't answer. Pterodon looked toward him. You felt it too. Bramble's ears lowered. Yes. Noah looked between the three guardians. What? Asterion slowly approached the corrupted leaf. He touched it, then closed his eyes. When he opened them again, there was fear there. Noah had never seen Asterion afraid. This corruption, it isn't merely similar to what destroyed the original garden. Pterodon's jaw tightened. It comes from the same source. Mira stopped smiling. The thing from before. Bramble nodded. Noah remembered the vision. Darkness descending. Guardians fighting. The World Tree scattering its seeds. The garden breaking apart. Who did it? The guardians became silent. Finally, Asterion answered. We called him many things. The Lord of Decay. The King without Spring. The one beneath the dead tree. Pterodon looked toward the distant mountains. But history remembers one name. Asterion's voice dropped. The Withered King. A survivor of the fall. Lady Elyria's face went pale. That's impossible. Cedric looked at her. You know the name. Every elf does. She slowly sat. It's a children's warning. Mira tilted her head. A story. Lady Elyria nodded. Our parents told us. When flowers refuse to bloom. When leaves fall before autumn. When roots blacken beneath healthy soil. The Withered King is walking. Cedric's usual humor disappeared. I always thought it was folklore. Asterion shook his head. It wasn't. Noah looked toward the guardians. What was he? Pterodon answered. Once, the ancient guardian closed his eyes. We don't know. A king, a spirit, a creature from beyond our world. Perhaps something else entirely. Bramble continued. He hated the garden. Why? Because it grew. Noah frowned. Asterion explained. The garden connected worlds. Life spread through it. Races met. Knowledge was exchanged. New things constantly appeared. He looked toward the world tree. The withered king believed existence should become still. No growth. No change. No birth. No renewal. Pterodon's golden eyes hardened. An eternal world where nothing could ever be lost. Because nothing new would ever exist. Noah looked down at his hands. A world without growth. To a farmer, it sounded worse than death. Why the Seekers exist? Cedric leaned forward. And the Seekers? Asterion's expression darkened. They existed during the fall. They weren't called Seekers then. Pterodon nodded. They were people who believed the withered king could save them from loss. War, disease, hunger, death. Noah understood. He promised them a world where nothing changes. Yes. And when the garden fell? Bramble answered. Most disappeared. Asterion looked toward the corrupted leaf. We assumed their master disappeared with them. Pterodon shook his head. We were wrong. The withered king opens his eyes. Deep beneath a land no modern map remembered. An enormous underground hall awakened. Black roots covered ruined pillars. Thousands of dead trees stood frozen in stone. At the center, a throne. For thousands of years, something had sat motionless upon it. The Seekers, black crystal floated before the throne. The report continued. The caretaker has awakened 3 guardians. The garden is expanding. The world tree is recovering. Different races have begun gathering there. The figure on the throne slowly lifted its head. 2 pale eyes opened. For the first time, in thousands of years, the surrounding dead forest trembled. Black flowers bloomed, then immediately withered. The withered king spoke. 3 guardians. A skeletal hand touched the arm of the throne. Bramble. Somewhere in the garden, the silver wolf suddenly raised his head. Asterion. The azure guardian's cup cracked in his hand. Pterodon. The mountain guardian felt the earth beneath his feet turn cold. Then, the pale eyes focused on the image of Noah projected by the crystal. And a new caretaker. The withered king leaned forward. His ancient voice carried something unexpected. Not hatred. Interest. Grow. The Seekers looked up in confusion. Your Majesty. The king smiled. Let the garden grow. Let him awaken the guardians. Let him gather the lost seeds. Let him restore everything. The Seeker leader hesitated. But why? The withered king's smile widened. Because this time, when I take the garden, I want it whole. The 4th light. Back beneath the world tree. The world compass suddenly appeared. Noah looked down. 3 symbols glowed. Bramble. Asterion. Pterodon. Then, ping. A 4th symbol flickered. Everyone stared. The compass needle began turning. North. Far north. The air around it became cold. Frost formed across Noah's fingers. Mira shivered. Cold. A message appeared. Guardian resonance detected. 4th guardian located. Direction. North. Region. Frostbound expanse. Status. Dormant. Guardian aspect. Unknown. Pterodon looked toward Asterion. The 4th. Asterion nodded. Noah stared at the northern symbol. The withered king had returned. The Seekers were still moving. The garden had only 3 of its 10 guardians. 7 remained scattered across the world. But Noah wasn't alone anymore. He looked around. Bramble. Asterion. Pterodon. Mira. Cedric. Lady Elyria. Seraphine. Beyond them were the new valleys. The medicinal forest. The mountains. The world tree. And across the world, dwarves. Beastfolk. Spirits. Adventurers. Farmers. Friends. People who now had a reason to see the garden survive. Noah closed his hand around the compass. When do we leave? Mira's mouth dropped open. Already. Noah laughed. Not tonight. Cedric sighed in relief. Thank every known deity. We still have crops to plant. Mira brightened. Ancient seeds. Noah nodded. And I have a farm on Earth that probably thinks I've disappeared. Seraphine stared. You became involved in an ancient conflict threatening multiple worlds. And you're worried about your farm. Noah looked genuinely confused. Who's going to check the tomatoes? Silence. Then Asterion laughed. Pterodon shook his head. Lady Elyria smiled. Even Seraphine couldn't keep a straight face. Noah looked north once more. There would be time for danger. Time for guardians. Time for the withered king. But tomorrow morning, he had fields to tend. Because that was what the enemy still didn't understand. The garden's greatest strength wasn't its treasures. It wasn't its guardians. It wasn't even the world tree. It was the simple truth the trial of Earth had taught Noah. As long as someone was willing to plant again, life could return, no matter how barren the land became. High above them, the world tree released a shower of silver leaves. 3 guardian symbols shone beneath its branches. Far to the north, beyond endless mountains and frozen seas, something enormous slept beneath an ancient glacier. For the first time in thousands of years, one icy blue eye slowly opened, and beneath the frozen earth, a heartbeat began. Thoom. 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 The journey was far from over. End of Volume 3. Thank you for listening to II Fiction Stories. Please like, comment, share and subscribe. See you next time.